Happy Wednesday, everybody. Are the 49ers good enough to win it all? That's the big question we'll answer at the end of the show. But we got a lot of other 49ers stuff to get to prior to that. We got my girl Steph Sanchez on the show as well as Los. Give me 17 seconds. I'll be right back with the Ryan G. Hensley Show, Steph Sanchez, and Los.
Back to throw Montana. Steps up, throws.
And now your host, Ryan Hensley.
And now your host, Ryan Hensley. Steph Sanchez, how the heck are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I mean, we're back on the winning side of things, so this week is kind of smooth sailing.
Yeah, it is. It is. It feels good to get the W, even if it was against the measly Patriots. It still feels good. I don't care. I don't care who it is. It's a W. I'll take it for this week. And then we got the Cardinals coming up. Maybe we'll be able to get into some of that as well. Before we dive in, I want to get this stuff out of the way early, if it's okay, because I feel like the people need to know. If you don't know, I'm sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. This is my play of the week. I've been having quite a bit of success. The link is in the chat as well as in the description. This is my play of the week. Brock Purdy more than 1.5 touchdowns. I did that because he hasn't had a lot of two touchdown games this season, if any. Yes, he had 1 2-touchdown game, I believe. And then Brandon Ayuk is due. So that's why I got Brandon Ayuk over 57. And James Conner is a fantasy football beast. And he always scores a touchdown, feels like. Do you support these picks, Steph?
I do. I actually think I saw it last week that you had Brock Purdy, like the rushing one. It was like 0.7 or 9 yards or 7 yards, something really low. And you probably hit on that, right?
I did, and I'm gonna place another bet later in the week when they just have a few of them up this early, and then they start adding more. But if they have Brock at like 7 yards a carry again, I'm taking it.
Easy money.
Yeah, easy freaking money. All right, so that's the underdog play of the week. Use promo code Hensley. Details in the description. Steph, there's a couple roster moves I wanted to talk to you about. First one that we just heard about this morning. Tariq Owens, little T.O., back to the practice squad this morning. How do you feel about that?
I think that's great. I mean, I was a little bummed when the 49ers let him go. I get it. He was hurt. Like he had I think it was a fractured hand or something like that, that required surgery. So that's part of the reason they let him go. But I'm glad he's back because he did look good. I feel like in the limited amount that we saw him, he was progressing and looking like a bit of a gem, right? And someone they can hold on to on their practice squad. And we like the nostalgic feels of it all. So I thought it was a nice reunion.
Yeah, I thought Tariq looked good from what we saw from him. I heard he did really good in training camp. I hate to compare him like this because it probably sucks having your dad as. I mean, it's good to have your dad as T.O. Obviously, the benefits, the money's probably not bad, but like living in the shadow of Terrell Owens, one of the greatest receivers, has to be difficult. But to be honest, man, if he's 70% of as good as his dad was, he should be a pretty damn good player. So I don't know. Maybe it's just nostalgia talking, but I'm glad he's back on the 49ers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think anyone's expected him to be like the next T.O., right? Even though he does have the same initials, but right. I think he'll probably round out to be something nice. Like I said, he was looking good, so he's going to have that opportunity to grow and develop.
Yeah, and the 49ers need some depth at running back, so part of me, I don't know where little Frankie G is, little Gore Jr.'s at right now, but I just want him to just grab him and sign him and put him on the team, and then let's run it back with all the legends. Jalen Graham was pulled off of the Commanders practice squad. In order to do that, you got to put him on the active squad with the 49ers. The 49ers did that. So Jalen Graham is back with the 49ers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it. I think this is another one that, he did well in training camp. He did well in the preseason. I was bummed, that they couldn't bring him back to their practice squad after final cuts because I think that was their plan. And so, since they had the opportunity to sign him onto the 53 man, given the injuries that they're dealing with, I think that makes it a little bit easier. So I don't know if we'll see him at any point this year, but you never know. We saw Tatum Bethune finish out the game at linebacker, so you just never know. But hopefully Fred is okay for this week, and we don't have to see any of those younger guys in. But I'm glad, and if they can find a way to get him back on the practice squad, like after, because I'm sure at some point he's going to get cut again. Yeah, I would hope that they can do that.
Yeah, my hope, the reason I'm hopeful that they brought Jalen Graham back isn't because of Fred Warner's ankle. I'm hoping he's fine. He's day to day. I don't think they would make that move for a day to day Fred Warner. My hope is that they're tired of this DFF Devondre Campbell experiment and they are going to start playing some of these younger guys. That would be my hope because I don't see the point of playing DFF and Devondre Campbell. They're veterans. We know what they can do, and it's not great. And if there's one move that you can make right now in the 49ers defense to improve it, it would be at those spots. So I'm hoping that's what it means. I don't know. Do you think it's more of a backup for Fred Warner and his ankle, or do you think they might be considering that thing?
I think right now it's more so for that. But I do agree with you. I do think the 49ers are kind of seeing what those two guys, Campbell and Flanagan Fowles, are putting out, and they're probably, thinking, the younger player can make the same mistakes or, grow on the fly just as good. So yeah, I think we've seen D Winters get some snaps, and I think part of that is trying to get him up to speed, with the hopes of him maybe being able to overtake one of those other guys, right? So I do think that's part of the plan. I even wonder if maybe they'll look at linebacker ahead of the trade deadline, right? Like, it's in a little over a month. You got some time to think about it. You got some time to see what some of these younger guys have behind Campbell and DFF. And if any of those guys look good, and you feel like you can replace any one of those guys with the younger ones, then maybe you don't make that move. But I mean, it's certainly always an option for them. But I like that across the board, not just at linebacker. It seems like the 49ers are willing to give the younger guys some looks. Like, we've seen Malik Mustafa, even before Hufanga was hurt this week. We've seen him getting some extra snaps. So it seems like there's a clear plan for those guys to, get up to speed, get more reps, and see what they could be.
Yes, that move on defense, I think, would be a step up. Another move that they're experimenting with, and we'll see what progresses from this, but they are actually practicing Burford at the right tackle spot in practice. A lot of people were hoping that they would have done this a while ago. Burford played right tackle in college. McKivitz seems to be the weak link on the 49ers offense from a statistical standpoint, although the offensive line in general did good last week against the Patriots, but it's the Patriots. So to me, it's improved that linebacker spot, hopefully with one of these younger guys. And if Burford can get up to speed, and honestly, I think he will get up to speed because that's what he played in college. At some point, maybe that's the other move where you can improve this team is pop Burford in at right tackle for McKivitz. What do you think the likelihood of that is?
I think it's great that they're giving Colton McKivitz some competition, because I thought it was pretty egregious that literally he was the only one who didn't have any competition this season or this off season. Which, seeing how he was kind of the weak link last year as well, that was a little disappointing for me to see. Now, I think having Burford work at right tackle is a way to give Colton McKivitz, put some fire under him, see what happens. He only had one pressure on Sunday. I agree, it's just the Patriots. But part of that maybe could have been driven by the fact that he now has someone behind him who's capable of potentially starting in his place. So I think that's something that could make Colton McKivitz better. And if it doesn't, hey, you got someone that has starting experience in Burford. He's talented enough to be a starter on that line and can push for that spot. So I think it's a win-win either way to have Colton McKivitz working at the right tackle spot. Um, and at the very least, like that Colton McKivitz, or sorry, that Burford can work a couple of spots on the offensive line. Like that's always valuable as well. Should anything happen to Colton McKivitz too. So yeah, I like this plan. I wish it would have happened a little bit sooner, like I said, but I think it could happen at some point if Colton McKivitz doesn't get his act together. I know Pooney after the game said that it feels like they're getting into a rhythm, like the offensive line, which, is true. It does take a couple of weeks for the offensive line to really start gelling and getting into that groove. So it seems like they're hitting that stride. We'll see how it looks against better teams, in these coming weeks right here. But yeah, it's good that the 49ers are giving themselves options.
Yeah, speaking of options, they do have a couple people coming back that could help this team. Also, Kalia Davis is one of them. He should be able to come back in the next few weeks at some point, as well as people forgot John Feliciano, which is could be another help on the offensive line. So they have reinforcements coming back, and ultimately the biggest reinforcement, Trent Williams was on. What's his name? I don't know the guy's name. Yeah, Rich Eisen. Thank you. I don't know. My memory is, anyways. Rich Eisen had Trent Williams on, and they were talking about the season and Christian McCaffrey, and he said, this is a marathon, not a sprint, and we do have confidence CMC will be back. Definitely expecting him to come back this season. So that's good. I mean, I don't know how reliable that is, but if it's true, at some point you might get Kalia Davis back, you might get John Feliciano back, and Christian McCaffrey. And so that there is some reason to be optimistic here moving forward. Are you confident CMC comes back, or how do you feel about that?
The way it's looking, I do think he comes back. The question is, how long will he last? Like, will he be able to last the entire season after that, or is this going to be something that flares up again, or is it going to be something that leads to an Achilles tear? Right? Like worst case scenario, that's what you don't want. But based on everything I've heard about this type of injury, it's very unpredictable. So he's feeling great right now, and that's obviously a great sign. And there's a lot of optimism around him being able to come back. But we just really don't know what's going to happen beyond that, right? I think it's just hopeful thinking from everyone at this point. But we know that he's going to try to do everything to get back on the field. I mean, I think he proved that when he went all the way to Germany to get some treatment. It seemed like that helped. So that's a good sign. But yeah, I'm like kind of holding my breath a little bit because like once he comes back, I am going to be a little bit nervous. I think we all are going to be about what could potentially happen with him, getting back into a football game.
Yeah. Another reinforcement, my guy Josh Collivan. What's up? The rare white cornerback. Yeah, he played corner on my football team, and he's white. You don't see a lot of white corners in this world. A shout out to Josh. He says, when do we expect Greenlaw back? Yeah, that's another guy I can't believe I didn't even think about. I kind of forgot about Greenlaw. I don't know how the hell I did that. But yeah, Greenlaw at some point could be coming back, which would be really big. If we get old Greenlaw back, now you're cooking with hot fish grease, I think is the expression.
Yeah, I think the reason you probably forgot about him is because I don't think we really have gotten an update on him. So
True.
we're still kind of in waiting mode. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess we'll know more when we know more. We'll know more when he's practicing or ramping up again. We're just not at that point yet. So in the meantime, like I'm trying not to even think about Greenlaw because I don't want to get my hopes up right now. I mean, it's still going to be in my mind, a couple of weeks before we even hear about an update of him like ramping up again. So we'll see. We'll see. Though in the meantime, that's why we're talking about other options aside from like Campbell and DFF, right? Just because we know those guys aren't going to cut it. If we knew that Greenlaw would be back in like 2 weeks, we'd be like, yeah, like it's fine. Like we could just keep rolling with those guys till Greenlaw's back. But I think that we're seeing some changes there just because it might still be a little bit longer.
Yeah, and maybe that's actually a bad sign. The Graham thing is maybe a bad sign on the Greenlaw front. I didn't even think about that. I don't know. I
Oh,
know that.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a bad sign. I just think like I mean, I expected from the jump that he wouldn't be available until at the very soonest November, right? So like that's still in line with that. So I don't think it's a bad sign. It's not like things have gone worse for Greenlaw. But I think it's a bad thing for the Niners that we got to wait till then uh to get him back.
Yeah, then Melvin asked, "Do you think Greenlaw will play as on edge as before due to the mental aspect of injury?" I don't think the mental thing will be an issue with Greenlaw. I think I've had Dr. Narav Panya on quite a bit, and it seems like injuries like this, they need a whole year of playing, and then in that second year, they're 100% back. So that first year is kind of more of a physical. They're not really physically themselves, and I broke
Yeah.
my ankle in high school after my freshman year, and I can confirm, like, the first year, it just felt weird the whole year, like playing basketball or trying to do whatever on it. And the second year, it was like it never happened. So I think that's more of the thing. And then the last reinforcement, Ricky Pearsall, obviously sat out in the preseason and had a lot of issues with his shoulder in the training camp. And then, of course, was shot, which is crazy. He was placed on the pup. He can technically, or non-injury list, but he can technically come back this week. And I think we'll find out today. I don't expect it, though. I don't really think they're going to activate him right away. I'm sure he wants to. Sounds like that's his mentality. But what are your expectations for Ricky Pearsall? Do you think we see him anytime soon?
Yeah, that one's tough. I think I saw that the 49ers right now have 52 players on their roster. So I don't know if they're holding that one spot for Ricky to come back in case they feel like he's going to go this week. I think from the physical recovery standpoint, I'd say he's probably ready, but like I think the other question is like the mental side of it, right? Which, we're not going to know about. I'm sure the 49ers have been, staying in touch with him very closely and watching that closely to make sure he's good from the mental standpoint. Um, do they need him back? I mean, that's debatable. Like, I'd love to have him back. Like, I think he brings something new and different to the offense that we don't have right now. You see, Brock holding on to the ball quite a bit right now. I would like them to see Jacob Cowing, get more action, which I think that he's like slowly ramping up. And so even if Ricky Pearsall does get activated back from the pup list, I'm not counting on him to be like active right away or even play snaps right away. I think that's what we're all hoping for, but realistically, like you got to remember he barely had time in training camp. Think about how long it's taken Jacob Cowing to even get up to speed with the playbook, with everything. I say that Kyle Shanahan has like these tests that like wide receivers need to pass before they get like significant snaps. Jacob Cowing's going through that right now. Now imagine Ricky Pearsall, who has missed even more time. He's even more behind the eight ball. So I think just given what we know about Kyle Shanahan and these receivers needing to pass these tests, I don't know if Ricky Pearsall is going to be there right away. But I would love to see it. Like I want him back as soon as possible. But we'll see.
Yeah, when he got drafted, I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't thrilled about the draft pick. It just didn't seem like it made sense from priorities standpoint for the 49ers. And, I watched his college tape. He looks pretty good. And so when he got drafted, I didn't want to make any judgments until you see the kid play. But I haven't been able to see him play. But now with everything that's transpired, man, I'm definitely rooting for the guy. Love to see that. I mean, what an incredible story to be able to come back and hopefully have some success. This guy, I see your super chat, man. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that because that's a topic that I definitely want to get to. I want to talk to you about some rookie standouts. Before I do that, I think it's important that I play this little clip real quick. I believe I got one of the best lineups in the business. And I'm not sure why you're not subscribed yet, but I feel like you should be. Please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe button. It helps me a ton, and it's free for you. One of the best lineups in the business, and part of the reason is because of this young lady herself. Can I call you a young lady? Because I feel like you're much younger than me. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a compliment, actually.
Yeah. If someone called me a young man, I'd be thrilled. So let's talk about rookie standouts. Evan Anderson has the highest PFF grade of all 49ers at the defensive tackle position. Undrafted, free agent, rookie. Got in, I believe he had 19 snaps, and not a large sample size, but out of those 19 snaps, it was against the Patriots, but he has the best PFF grade amongst all 49er defensive tackles. What do you think about that?
Man, Evan Anderson, he's a dog, and we got glimpses of it in training camp as well, right? Like him being a UDFA, he's gonna be behind the depth chart or like very far back, of course. But like in the limited time we saw him, like he looked good. Like there's definitely something there. There's definitely something that tells you he looks like a Niner. He looks like the next guy that could develop into something for Chris Kosarek, right? And another part of it is when guys, go down with injury, the guys behind them need to step up. And that's kind of a test in itself because, like, if you can't step up in those moments, what are we going to depend on you for in the future, right? So I think a lot of the guys, and not just Evan Anderson, I know we're talking about the young guys, but like I was very pleased by the entire defensive line reserve players who were getting increased snaps for the first time, like for the 49ers this season. I think just given the fact, again, undrafted free agent, called up from the practice squad, it makes it even more impressive. These guys are hungry. Like that's like the one positive thing about undrafted free agents, guys who were like 6-7 round picks. You think about like guys like Juwan Jennings, you think about Brock, like these guys are super hungry. And when they get that shot, like they make the most of it. So that's kind of what we're seeing out of Evan Anderson. And yeah, he's got some juice for sure. So really looking forward to seeing him get more opportunity in the coming weeks as well.
Yeah, me too. I love seeing young dudes ball out. And speaking of that, Malik Mustafa. So when I originally watched the game, just watched it, I saw him miss the 1 third down tackle, and I'm like, "Come on, Malik, man, you're my guy." I mean, I've been like talking about you nonstop this whole time, and then so I was like, "Okay." And then you saw little flashes. Then I go back and I watched the film, and outside of that play, he was balling actually. So I'm excited about Malik, man. Like if you go back and watch the film, like his speed is just ridiculous. And then on that Fred Warner interception, he's laying out
Yeah.
an offensive lineman, like pancaking the guy on the return. You gotta love what you see from Malik. And my question, I guess, is like, do the 49ers need to figure out a way to, like, once Huff's back and he's healthy, like, is Malik one of the best 11 players? Should they figure out a way to design defensive packages where instead of DFF and Devondre Campbell, maybe you have Jair, Huff, and Malik on the field at the same time? I mean, what do you think about Malik Mustafa in that scenario?
I mean, I think you're already seeing the 49ers trying to find ways to get him on the field. And again, I know he was starting because Hufanga was hurt, but even prior to that, like he was getting some snaps even last week when Hufanga was healthy in that game. So, yeah, I think it'd be great to see him get more snaps because he's made of the right stuff too. Now, as you mentioned, like on that whiff, sometimes he's a little over aggressive, gets a little overzealous and will over pursue some things, at times. But I think with time, he's going to get better at that. Like I remember Hufanga kind of dealing with that too in his rookie season, but you just know, like he's made of the right stuff. He's like, okay, I see it go. And they're so fast coming downhill that you love to have that. I mean, especially like when it comes to the run defense, I think that's huge to have. So yeah, I'd love to see him get more opportunity. He's going to get better with time, but he's got like the mindset that you need to be able to play this role well. And I think also he's versatile. Like you could probably line him up close to the line, and he's going to be able to do some good stuff for you as well. So I think yeah, like I'm sure Nick Sorensen is thinking of some ways to use him and move him around on the field, kind of like a chess piece. Wouldn't be surprised if they even go like 3 safety looks when Hufunga is back. Because yeah, I think Malik is someone you want to see on the field.
Yeah, a rare stat most people don't know. I think I posted it, but out of all the defensive backs who have blitzed the quarterback, Malik has the highest PFF score of all of them. I'm telling you, Malik
He's
is going to be.
fast. He's like a
He's so
heat-seeking
fun.
missile.
Yeah, like
He's a
literally,
heat-seeking missile.
that's
Yeah.
what watching him is like. It reminds me of almost like a
Target
Dante.
acquired.
Yeah, it reminds me of Dante a little bit. Whitner.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just I think in a year or two he'll be one of the fan favorite players on this team just because of the way he plays. Wanted to talk to you about the Cardinals game a little bit. I won't be having a Thursday show tomorrow, just so you guys know. I'll be back Friday. I got some work stuff in the Bay Area. I got to drive out there to handle some real estate stuff. Hit me up for all your real estate needs in the state of California, by the way. That's a good opportunity for a plug. So I haven't even let Rohan and Johnny Dale know yet. So if you're watching, I apologize. I was going to text you after the show. But I wanted to just jump like briefly on this Cardinals game and how you see that playing out, 49ers versus Cardinals this coming week.
Well, I definitely do think it's going to be a challenge for the 49ers. I think the Cardinals always play the 49ers, a little tough. I know the 49ers have been on the winning side of it more often than not in recent seasons. But, I think they're a little bit better this year. I did like their draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, looks great. And so, yeah, I think there's some things on the 49ers side that obviously I think we know need to be cleaned up. Everything looked good last week because they're playing the Patriots. Like, I think we know, like, yes, that's a win they needed to have. They looked the way we wanted them to, but there's still some things to improve on. So you need to be able to build on that performance against the Patriots, apply that to the Cardinals, and maybe even improve on the previous week, right? So that's what I want to see. But I do think it's going to be a battle. Like I think this is going to be a close game because I think both offenses can score. I think we know that much. So that's a good thing about the 49ers. Like they can score. I want to see red zone trips improve. Like I think that's something that's going to be important in this game. So hopefully we see that. I also saw the Cardinals are giving up a lot of yardage to running backs this season. So heavy dose of Jordan Mason will probably be good again. And I'd expect him to have a productive day. But I think the type of performance that the defense had last week, we need to see that again. Like generating turnovers, the run game, the run defense being good, getting off the field on third down, like all those things need to be there once again. And most importantly, they need to finish. I think it got close there at the end against the Patriots, and we're talking about a bad Patriots team. They were able to close it out. Thank you, Nick Bosa, for that one. But I think that's where the defense needs to come through, and maybe even the offense. Like put the nail in the coffin as soon as you can with this team, and don't let them hang around.
Agreed. The guy that here's the thing: the 49ers defense, EPA I've learned is one of the most important statistics. I've been doing research on statistics lately because you see a lot of statistics thrown around, but EPA is actually a pretty good statistic to go by. But Cardinals defense by EPA is 30th, and they give up 146 yards rushing per game. So I expect Jordan Mason to have a really, really good game. They like you said, had a tough time against the Commanders, but their offense is 10th best. So they can score. And tight end looks good. Obviously, John Connor is a touchdown machine, and the rookie Marvin Harrison, plus defending the mobility of Kyler Murray is always a challenge. So, yeah, we'll see. I think 49ers win, but I think it's going to be tougher than people think. And they need this win because it's an NFC West opponent. Super crucial.
They need the next 2 weeks. And next 2 weeks need to be wins.
Yeah, and I think the Seahawks is a short week. 49ers got to go to Seattle on a short week on a Thursday night.
Why we always play them on a short week? I feel like we always
Yeah.
gotta play.
They like that drama. They like that NFC West
Yep.
drama. Steph, what do you got going on the show today?
Yeah, so I got Rob on my channel later today, so make sure you guys subscribe. Steph 49K on YouTube. Also tomorrow I got a couple shows. Preview show on Friday. So we got daily shows on weekdays. So make sure you guys subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live.
Do that because Steph is awesome at what she does and a great person. Make sure you guys subscribe to Steph 49K on YouTube. Steph, I appreciate you very much. We are going to be back with Los in 17 seconds after I play our sponsor, Chris McCurdy. The Ryan G. Hensley Show is powered by the law office of Chris McCurdy. Chris McCurdy and his team have been empowering businesses, guiding families, and taking care of the injured since 2012. In California, for estate planning, business, or personal injury, be smart and contact Chris McCurdy. There's my guy Los with the I see you with the hat. Is that a Kango or what we got here?
Hey. Yeah, Kango, man. I know you rock the fedoras when you styling and going out, but
should I throw on the Kango? Should I throw on the Kango so we match?
Throw it on. All
right, I'll be right back, man.
Throw it on.
Where's it at? It's somewhere here. I think it's dusty. Might be a little dusty. All right. I'm back.
Yeah, there we go. Did I hear maybe? Did I hear somebody say maybe a little dusty?
It might be a little dusty. I keep it on the shelf. Keep it on the shelf behind me. It's a little dusty out here. Yeah.
That's your hat. That's your hat room.
Yeah, I feel like I look a little French right now. I don't know why this Kango. I spin it.
Yeah, when you spin it, it looks French for sure.
I gotta keep it right here.
I
don't know, man. I don't think I'm ready for the Kango.
No,
I don't know.
I mean, you bought it for a reason.
It's just you gotta see how linty it is right now because it's been up on the shelf. It's been a minute. I think we're gonna rock it. The Dusty Kango. Dusty Kango. So
there you go.
Real quick, man, before we dive in, I gotta do a better job of plugging some stuff. And this isn't Steph, so let me take off that banner. I'm slacking in my Mackin. I don't know if you guys know, but Grant and I started an audio version of the podcast. I drop all of these videos on podcast form also, so you can always listen to the Ryan G. Hensley Show on podcast. But Grant and I started a 5-day-a-week podcast. We just dropped episode 3 this morning at 6:30. The link is in the description for that, so make sure you guys subscribe and check it out. And you could listen to it on your commute to work, and then tune into the Ryan G. Hensley Show afterwards. I forgot to mention that, so I figured I should.
Yeah, and in addition, my man is a sandwich man now, trying to get them Togos and Subway sponsors. So I see you working. Couldn't have done a hot pastrami though, right? Pastrami's the bomb.
Pastrami's good, man. Like I got a lot of sandwiches in like lined up. Maybe I should do. No, I'm not gonna do that video anymore. That's a one time.
I did like the offensive line analogy with the bread. Like you can't. I mean, I was like, I see where he's going right there. That's good.
I should have just put mayonnaise on the left side of the bread and left the rest to drive my point in better. Yeah.
No doubt.
We got a lot to talk about, man. We were just talking about the Cardinals, but the name of the shows are the 2024 49ers good enough to win it all. I want to bring up the super chat by this guy. I appreciate you with the $10 super chat. Sure, it says it's not guaranteed to run back anything. It's too early to assume. 49ers got what it takes. Rams lost. I mean, the Bears beat the Pats. By no terms should we be thinking we are back. And I don't necessarily. Let me start off before we answer the big question, Los. Let me ask you this. What's better about the 2024 49ers than the 2023 Niners? Is there something that's better about them?
Purdy, I think, is better, especially at scrambling, especially at picking up key first downs on third downs. He looks a little stronger, so maybe that'll translate to, and we saw it in the last game. We've been asking for that for a long time. I mean, not just one deep ball, but like 3 and accurate. So Purdy's definitely an upgrade, and if you're going to have an upgrade somewhere in your team, the quarterback may be the most important place to have it. So I would say definitely at quarterback. Honestly, that might be it.
I got one.
Sadly, we thought the secondary was going to be upgraded, and we both loved them at the beginning of the year, but that's kind of work in progress. Let's see some more football to make a determination on that. But that's the only one I got for now. What do you got?
Dominic Pooney. I think that's a slight upgrade. And then,
right.
I was talking about some options with Steph. Like, here's why I'm even entertaining this as a possibility, right? Yeah, we started off bad. Didn't look good. And they've only beat 2 AFC opponents, and doesn't mean anything for the big picture for the 49ers. They lost to the Rams, lost to the Vikings. Those are 2 big losses. They have opportunity against the Cardinals and the Seahawks to pop back in this thing. But I laid it out with Steph earlier. Think about this, man. Trent Williams says that he's confident at some point CMC is going to come back. Then you have Greenlaw possibly coming back. Kalia Davis coming back. We might get Ricky Pearsall. Who knows what that looks like at some point. And then you got young Malik Mustafa emerging. You got Evan Anderson, played his ass off, undrafted free agent. So you see all these things working. And then also, if you look at Nick Sorensen, what he did with the blitz rate for the 49ers, progressively blitz more every single week, progressively. Last week being the most, 30% blitz rate, and it was extremely effective. 49ers got 6 sacks. Nick Bosa was causing havoc. And honestly, the 49ers defensive line might be upgraded with the loss of Javon Hargrave, because these young dudes seem like they're hungrier. So all of these things together and combined, and the Niners have started poorly in the past. They still have elite weapons. Brandon Ayuk's not playing like himself quite yet. I mean, he's improving. He made okay last week, but he's still not playing quite like himself. So Kyle and these guys, they just got to put it all together, get some players off of injury, utilize these rookies. Nick Sorensen's got to kind of figure out what he's doing. And it's anything's possible, I guess.
Yeah, we talked about it when we did kind of our preview show. One of the things we talked about was like the young guys stepping up and making contributions to the team, not just the rookies, which looks like to be a real good class, but the second-year guys that didn't get a lot of time. What's a little frustrating is that a lot of these young players that are talented, they don't get their shot unless people get injured. It's like when they're doing evaluations, when they're doing practices, and when they're doing all these things, like, why aren't these younger guys who obviously have more upside, why are they not on the field like immediately? Why does it take dudes to suck for 3, 4, 5 weeks? Like Campbell, like we'll see what happens with McKivitz and Brendel, or they get injured. But why does it take that for these young guys to come in and then they play well? So, but you're right. I mean, I think if even half of these guys emerge, that's going to take a load of pressure off of, our proven commodity superstars. And that's going to go a long way toward them getting what they need to get to.
Yeah, and you brought up the most important part. I mean, quarterback is the most important position in football. Obviously, it's one of the hardest positions in all of sports, and it's the most important position in football. If you got a good quarterback, you always got a chance. This 49ers roster, if they bring all those pieces that we talked about together, guys come back from injury, and Brock Purdy continues to play at the level he's playing, they might actually have more of a chance than it feels like right now. So, I also, you look around the NFL, the level of play in the NFL has been horrible the first few weeks for most teams, most players. And so I don't know if you can really judge what we've seen from the 49ers yet. I would imagine once all these guys come back and they get clicking and Nick Sorensen gets in his rhythm, that this team, and not only this team, but all teams throughout the NFL, could look a lot different as the season progresses.
Yeah, football in general has been pretty substandard. Not a lot of quality of play. Right when you feel like there's a team or there's a certain group of players that are on another level, they come back down to earth. But that's football. I mean, that's why they say it's any given Sunday. But the 49ers have always had a pattern of kind of starting slow, then they kind of ramp it up, And then, at least last year, they didn't finish that strong. They weren't playing their best football at the end of the year. And I think that's what they need to kind of like figure out. And that's why I always say they need to use their whole roster. It's a marathon. It's a long season. They've played a lot of games the last 3 or 4 years. So, maybe a week 4 or week 5, W maybe isn't the most important thing. Well, I mean, they're 2-2, so it's definitely important. But, they were up. How much were they up this last weekend? It was like 3 scores. It was like 2 minutes left, and the starters were still in. It's little things like that. Like, they don't need to be taking those hits. Manage your roster. You need to have your best players healthy and still got some juice towards the end of the year. Because last year, like I said, the last part of the year, December, January, they didn't play their best football. And in order, Ryan, to win this Super Bowl, the name of the show is, are they good enough? They've always been good enough, and they're good enough this year. Are they going to play good enough when the time comes? Are they going to be prepared, game prepared, coaching staff wise? Those are the keys for them to get over the hump.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. And then Patel, M. Patel makes a good point. All 3 phases need work and improvement. Who needs the biggest?
What are they going to do about special teams?
Dude, you know what special teams is ranked right now in the NFL?
Last, I would guess.
Dead last, 32nd. That's not going to cut it, man.
It's always been something that's kind of like just we can win despite being, poor in that mentality. Like, we're that good. It's like, no, you're not. Like, the last time I saw the Niners win on a game with special teams was when they played Green Bay in that playoff game on the road. And Green Bay's special teams was horrible. And what was the game defining play? It was a block punt, and Hufanga ran it in for a touchdown. So Green Bay was loaded that year. Their special teams was last in the league, and it cost them a playoff game. So that mentality about we can just get by without having good special teams, man, that's wrong, and they better fix that.
Yeah. Another M. Patel thing I wanted to talk about. He says, I think Ryan regrets dink and dunk. If anything, Brock needs to do that more. So, no regrets, right? That tattoo that says no regrets. But literally, no, seriously, no, I don't regret saying it. Here's the thing that's funny, man, is if you look at Brock Purdy's first year, 6 passes over 25 yards, 6 passes. He was dink and dunking his first year. And according to a guy that you could probably trust, Brock Purdy legit. Brock Purdy, the quarterback who I called dink and dunk, said the deep ball, I think this is pretty close to a 100% accurate quote. The deep ball has never been part of my game, and it's something I want to develop and work on. That's Brock Purdy. Those are his words after his rookie year. Brock Purdy himself admitted that the deep ball is not something that he's done before. Now, where I was wrong was thinking that he couldn't develop it and that it would be a problem for him because of his arm talent. I was wrong about that. Obviously, he can. And the way he played in this last game, I loved. I want to talk to you about that, Los, in a second, but I loved the way he played in this last game. Yeah. That's what I've been wanting. Grant said it's my fault that he played like that. I'm like, what do you mean fault? That was fantastic. Do more of that. And if I am any way partially responsible for Brock Purdy playing the way he did last week, which I don't think is true, but if it is,
take that credit.
I think all of you guys should be thanking me. That's what I think.
Take that credit.
That's how I want to see 49ers quarterbacks play. That's what's been missing since Cap. No, like the way that Brock Purdy played Sunday.
Off script.
Going downfield.
We haven't exactly. Sometimes the plays are not going to work, and you need to be able to still make positive yards by going off script. No, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, and going deep, right? He set his season record for longest pass play twice in that game. First, he did it to Debo, then he did it again for Juwan Jennings. More of that, like that skit on Saturday Night Live, more cowbell, more deep ball for me. Because, they still need to figure out the red zone thing. I don't know why they're unable to punch it in the red zone. I don't know if that's a Kyle thing or what, but obviously Kittle is part of that solution, I would imagine.
I like some chatter this week about using Kittle more in isolation. He's a big target. You see the kind of play that he can make. Their wide receivers are not big dudes, and big dudes in the red zone like a Jennings, They had that tight end on the practice squad. I think Mason Klein is like 6'7", 6'8". I mean, damn, that's a big target. So yeah, red zone needs to be cleaned up because again, they went down, they moved the ball, and they kicked 2 field goals. I mean, that's going to work against New England. It's going to work against maybe the Cardinals this week. But when you get into January and February and you're playing them good teams, them field goals are not going to win you games. You got to punch that in. You got to figure that out.
Agreed, man. And Jay does say Brock needs to check it down a bit more, and I actually agree on that, right? Like I don't want him. Here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with dinking and dunking, if that's not all you can do. I only have a problem with it if that's all you have in your arsenal. If you can't go deep, but
right,
Brock has shown that he can. What I want is, and Brock did it more than I even asked for. I want the 49ers to take 2 or 3 deep shots per game. And that keeps the defense honest, and it opens up everything underneath. And yeah, Brock, for whatever reason, he's not dumping off at all to Jordan Mason like he used to do with Christian McCaffrey. And it's just about finding that right balance, right? Like that throw to Brandon Ayuk. It was a great play by the safety to get there. You probably want to avoid that, but really, I'm not mad at it because I love that kind of aggression. But it's finding that balance, right? Like when you're playing a good team, you can't throw that interception. You want to just take what's there.
Yeah. And, we talk a lot about how Kyle's offense struggles against Brian Flores and Mike McDonald and Steve Spagnuolo, these type of defenses that play press man and have the exotic blitz as well. If you make them pay with going over the top and possibly a long touchdown instead of just 6 yards and a first down, they might not do that. And that's the chess match of football is, okay, you're going to do this, I'm going to hit you with that. And if a Brock keeps running, then that's another thing to put on tape. So this just makes the offense more dynamic instead of this. They've gotten a little predictable, in my opinion, both on offense and defense. And I think coordinators are kind of seeing what their tendencies are. And you have to have the right personnel. But if you know what other team is doing and you take that away, then you as the offensive coordinator, in this case Kyle, and the offensive play caller, you need to come up with other things that are going to work. And going deep in this last game and him running, that's a nice step. 2 more things to add for them to have to cover.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you 2 questions after we get back from this brief 17-second Hensley Real Estate and Mortgage commercial. If the 49ers want to win it all, what do they need to do? That's question number 1. And is this team good enough to win it all? Give us 17 seconds. We'll be right back. Hensley Real Estate and Mortgage has been serving all of California since 2009. I would love to help you and your family. Whether you're buying, selling, financing, or refinancing, please reach out. I'd love to help. Visit RyanGHensley.com for more information. All right, we are back, sir. My question for you is, if the 49ers do want to win it all, what do they need to do? We've talked about it a little bit, but what's the biggest thing in your opinion?
There's so many things. I'll give you a couple things. Well, one of the biggest things they have to do is they have to, as I said a few minutes ago, they have to identify who their best 22 players are and put them on the field. Give you the best chance to win. Don't leave your best talent on the bench, just standing there, sitting on the bench. That's just stupid. I mean, so you need to identify who your playmakers are. If it's D Winters, I don't care if he's a second-year player. Is he going to make mistakes? Yeah. Is a veteran going to make mistakes? Hell yeah. I mean, sometimes I hear this rhetoric. It's like veterans don't ever make mistakes. They do. So the Niners need to understand who are our best 11 players on offense, who are our best 11 players on defense. There's a lot of talk right now, and justifiably so. And I agree with Grant. We need to see more Jennings and less Juice. I mean, Jennings makes plays. I mean, Juice just does not touch the ball a lot. He's a good outlet, but he's not going to break things, and he's not going to score red zone type of touchdowns for you. So the name of the game is scoring touchdowns and getting points. So if that means Jennings needs to be over Juice, then sorry, man. We can't be concerned about hurting people's feelings that we like. And I'll just leave it at that.
Let's go back and forth on this because I got one. And you're right about that. The other thing is just Kyle. He's just got to get a little bit better at managing games. He's up by 10 too much in the fourth quarter and losing too many games like that. Like, you got to figure out a way to overcome any adversity, right? It's like my expectation for Brock is, overcome adversity and win the game for your team in those situations like that. We keep talking about the wide open pass to Brandon Ayuk. You got to hit that and win the game. But I need to have that same expectation for Kyle Shanahan. You're up by 10 in the fourth quarter. Like, figure out a way to get it done. And you see him miss out on those opportunities quite a bit. So that's another thing. Along with his creativity, it seems to be lacking a little bit this year. Not quite at the level that I'm used to. You see Kyle Shanahan in the past, it's like, what was that? Oh, that's great. We've never seen that before. Everything right now seems pretty vanilla, and we're used to seeing it. I haven't seen a lot of new. It's the same, passing concepts. They run the deep cross, or excuse me, the 15-yard. I don't know why I can't think right now. 15-yard in route, and then they run a post behind it. They've been doing that for a long time. A lot of teams figured it out already. Patriots, obviously, were not one of those teams, but it's the same stuff. I feel like you need to see some creativity from Kyle. So those are two things that they need to do.
Those are the biggest, in my opinion. You know how I feel about Kyle and some of his shortcomings in big games. And Ryan, I watched Steph Curry interview the other day, and I'll tell you in a minute how it relates to the 49ers. And they were talking about, how you're going to deal without Clay. How are you going to, deal with the offense? And he said a real interesting answer. He was like, well, we're always going to do what we do and do our sets, but we need to evolve and learn how to play different ways. And the key word is evolve. And that's what Kyle needs to do. Kyle has, quite frankly, been outcoached in big games. It wasn't because the Niners didn't have more talent. They did. They just, in key situations, the other coach thought this way and Kyle didn't have an answer for it. So our whole thing is just, can you learn? Can you learn and see? You're supposed to be like this really high IQ guy. You have all this access to film. You got to see what they're doing and be able to counter it, So that is the evolution. I think the Niners are going to get there as far as the playoffs go, and they're going to be matched up against a Green Bay. They're going to be matched up against a Detroit. They might be matched up against the Rams, who might have their receivers back and might pose a problem. And he's going to be playing chess with the other coach and the other defensive coordinator, and he's got to step up his game. He has to step up his game. That is, in my opinion, the number one thing that is the Niners need to do to get over the hump. It's not the players stepping up. Kyle needs to step up.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, I want to answer the a couple other questions, but on the Niners. But before we get out of here, remind me to talk to you about Buster Posey and the Giants, because I know you guys on NorCal Sports Network were talking about that last night. That's a big announcement. Buster Posey taking over
huge
baseball operations. So we'll talk about the end, because I know not everyone is a baseball fan and may not. Sorry, I'm trying to put my damn shoe on.
And I appreciate a man as busy as you come into our chat for approximately 20 seconds. That meant a lot to me.
I had to drop in and show some love, man. I was up till like 11:30 working last night. That's how busy I am right now.
That's crazy. That's good though. That's good.
Yeah, just a lot going on, but I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, so we talked about some of the things they need to do. One of them, to me, everyone just needs to get healthy. They need Greenlaw back. They need CMC back, and then all these young guys, like you talked about putting the best 22 players on the field. Agree with that. They need the guys to get healthy. They need to figure out special teams, but all of this is possible. Like, I'm pretty realistic analysis of the 49ers. Like, I try not to be biased, but that has to work in both directions, right? Sometimes it comes off as negative, even though I'm just trying to be realistic. But I wouldn't be genuine, I don't think, if I didn't say I think this roster is good enough, especially when guys get healthy and they come back. And if they're able to work out the kinks on certain things, Nick Sorensen gets his team going and figures out how to call plays for this defense, and special teams improves somehow. If they're able to do all that with an improved Brock Purdy, I do think they are good enough to win it all. Like, will they be able to do it? That's the question. But what do you think?
If you were John Lynch, Ryan, what position would you go after at the trade deadline, or well before the trade deadline, that you think could maybe put them over the top? And as a backup question to that, what do you think about Devontae Adams for Ayuk in a second? Would you do that?
Would I? Yes. Can you? You can't. It's $45 million dead cap hit if you do that. So That's pretty much out of the question. I would do it if it was an option.
It
I'd say
sounds good on paper until you
Yeah.
start bringing the cap into play. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, but like $45 million dead cap after the amount of money they spent this year, I mean, you can't do that. I mean, you're paying Christian McCaffrey to fly to Germany. So you can't do it. Unfortunately, yeah, it would be great though. I would love it. What would I go after the trade deadline?
What
I mean,
position do you feel needs to be upgraded the most?
well, the positions that need to be upgraded the most are right tackle and center. You can't do that in the trade deadline. They're just not going to be able to understand the offense. So unfortunately, that's going to have to come from within. So hopefully Feliciano can come in and maybe contribute there. And they're talking about moving Burford to right tackle. So those solutions are going to have to come from within.
Internally.
On the other side of the ball, well, let me say on the offense. They need another running back. I mean, until Christian McCaffrey comes back, and even if he does, like you can't use Jordan Mason like you used Christian McCaffrey last year, or you're going to have a similar result to what happened to Christian McCaffrey. They need to. I don't know if Patrick Taylor's good enough. I don't know if you can go snatch little Frankie G, or I don't know what the solution is. But to me, they need another running back.
Yeah, love Frank's son. Yeah.
Yes. So those are the positions I would focus on offensively. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I like what I'm seeing from all these young dudes on the D line. But they need another pass rusher. One of the most disappointing players so far has been Leonard Floyd. Like, has he even played in a game? It doesn't feel like he's even played in a game. I can't even tell you a Leonard Floyd highlight right now, like in my head. So super disappointing. Pass rusher and interior would be huge gets to me before the trade line. And then the last thing I would say would be depends on what happens with Greenlaw and how he looks, but they need to figure out that linebacker spot because Fred can't play linebacker by himself.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of what we spoke about a little bit earlier was that Leonard Floyd is a name. He's a veteran. He has a resume. He has a history of being a good player. Maybe he's past his prime. I mean, the eye test says that he's not playing real well. And then what happens? This kid, 91, Sam Okinawa. I'm going to call him Sam OK. He comes out of nowhere. Again, like I said, these young guys are given an opportunity, and he made plays, like not just one. Like he was getting penetration a lot. He's a strong dude he's like 265. He's not a big dude, 6'1", 265, 270, but Bosa swears by him and says that he's real strong. So, that's what I mean. I mean, identify who is playing well, who cares what their age is or their experience or their resume. It's about putting the best 22 playmakers on the field. Give yourself the best opportunity to win. So, yeah, Leonard Floyd so far has been disappointing. Hopefully he can ramp it back up and be the player that he was.
It's possible, man. I like to be realistic. It doesn't feel great at this moment in time, but if you think about all the players coming back and, the fact that Sorensen is new and he's figuring it out and the defense seems to be improving week by week, it's possible. Brock Purdy's improved. It's possible. They definitely, if everyone was healthy, they have a good enough roster, I think, to win it all. And just a couple little moves could actually get them over the top.
And I'll just add to this, we can talk X's and O's and players and Kyle and everything and break it all down real well as we do. But I just get the sense, man, honestly, like I get these Warrior vibes when Poole and Draymond went at it. And it just sent the whole year into kind of like just trying to overcome adversity, overcome distractions. And the Niners have had a lot more than just one distraction. They've had a whole lot. So, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but I've had that vibe since the beginning of training camp. Some of our other content creators that go to practice a lot have said that they don't quite feel it. I think Coach mentioned that. I think Jesse mentioned that it wasn't just a right feeling on the team. So, I feel that too. So let's see. We can, again, talk X's and O's and talent all we want, but I think mentally, little stuff like Brandon and practice in the short, they just need to just clean that all up, man. Just clean that up. Just play football. Just play football. They don't need all that distractions.
I agree, man. But before we get out of here, if you're not a Giants fan, don't worry. But if you are, I'm curious because I love baseball. I played baseball growing up. I'm a big Giants fan, but I'm not a big baseball fan. Let me explain what I mean by that. Like, I have a hard time watching baseball on TV without falling asleep, especially when they suck like they have been. So I don't follow it that closely. But I want to ask you about Buster Posey. Before we do that, Charles Smith hits us with a super set. Says, glad we just re-signed Tariq Owens to the practice squad. Yes, sir. We just talked about that in the beginning of the show with Steph. I'm thrilled about that, man. Thank you for the super chat. But what do you think about Buster Posey becoming the head of baseball operations for the Giants? Are you excited about that? How do you feel?
I'm a little surprised that Posey took the position because he comes off as such the family man and enjoying his time and retiring early the way he did, to spend time with his family. He's got 4 kids. They're all relatively young. So I'm a little surprised that he took the position. But just the fact that they got rid of Farhan. I mean, I told a lot of people, 1, this feels like Christmas as a Giants fan. And 2, it feels like all of us are getting out of prison. That's the analogy I used, because this guy just didn't understand how to relate to people. There's more to leading a team, and he didn't check off any box. He didn't recognize talent very well. He held our young players down for below average veterans. So just the process of elimination, of getting rid of him, I think Buster's a temporary fix. I can't see him doing this for 10 or 20 years. I think what they might do is they wanted a name, a respectable name, a World Series champion guy out there to bring credibility back to the Giants, who are an iconic organization. So I think he's going to need to bring some experienced people around him, Ryan, that know what they're doing, that have a resume. It's one thing to be a great player. It's another thing to be a great executive. Derek Jeter didn't do very well. Chris Mullin didn't do very well. The greatest basketball player of all time, no, not LeBron James, Michael Jordan, wasn't a great owner. So, I mean, just because you're a great player doesn't mean you could be a great executive. But I'm excited, man. Every Giant fan, I think, is. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, Farhan was bad. He had to go. So that just, if they just told me, hey, we fired Farhan, I'd be excited.
Yeah,
right?
just that in itself.
Just tell me that, I'm good. And then the Buster Posey thing, it sounds good, and hopefully it is. I know he's a well-loved player by Giants and Giants fans, so that's great. But you need to produce now. You know?
And also, if I could add, Ryan, to that, people that are questioning that because he doesn't have any experience. I mean, John Lynch didn't have no experience. Steve Kerr didn't have no experience. I mean, sometimes you need a refreshing look at either a coach or an executive, because they don't do it the traditional way that everybody does it. So for those that say he doesn't have experience, I use those 2 guys as examples where maybe sometimes that doesn't matter as much.
Some of the best people at their job in every career field, they all started at some point with no experience. And the experience thing is great if you're going to pull from it, but really it's your mind, it's your mentality and your aptitude for the job, experience or not. Some people have hell of experience and they're horrible. Their experience has been horrible. They're bad. They've been bad for a very long time. So experience is it's important, but it can be a little overrated. And like you said, just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're going to be a good or bad coach or good or bad executive. Like, all those things are like, really, I've known some really good players, guys that were professional athletes or college athletes, and were like the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life. So like, it's really just about your talent. And like, some people are made to do things better than others. I tell you what, I never played college football, but you make me the GM of this 49ers team, I think we'd be pretty damn good. I know that sounds crazy, but I swear to God on everything I love. But here's my final question for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Here's my final question for you. How long of a leash does Buster Posey get? How long does the honeymoon last?
They need to be competitive. Maybe not next year, but by 26, they need to at least be vying for the Dodgers are not going to be coming off that division anytime soon unless they get devastated by injuries. He needs to be competitive. Definitely. It's going to take a little while. They don't have a very talented roster. He's going to need to get rid of some people. and draft prospects are not going to amount to anything for 3 or 4 years. But he needs to be competitive within 2 years, or I think the pressure is going to start big time, no matter what his last name is.
Is that even fair to him, really, though? Like, doesn't he need? Shouldn't they give him like 3-4 years to?
I think so. I think they should give him a longer leash, but
you think the fan base will be on him after like 2?
Yeah, I think the fan base is desperate to win. This is not, no disrespect, this is not a small market organization or team. You know, the Giants have one of the strongest capital in baseball. They own their stadium outright. There's no reason why they cannot be competitive with the big dogs of baseball. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think they should give them a longer leash, but I think the impatience might keep it at 2 years. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they do give them a little bit of a longer leash because it's going to take some time.
Yes, sir. Well, I feel like that's enough baseball on this channel for one day. But if you guys are into the Giants, I am a Giants fan. I love going to Giants games. I like playing baseball. Watching on TV makes me fall asleep. But if you're one of the people, like my dad will love watching baseball. If you're into that, these guys do a great job of covering the Giants on NorCal Sports Network. So
your dad must have been a big Pete Rose fan, huh?
Yeah, he was a Reds fan. He grew up in Kentucky, and the closest baseball team was Cincinnati. So he was a big Johnny Bench, Pete Rose fan. It sucks that Pete Rose passed away. Pete Rose was actually on a plane with my mom about 5 years ago, and he sat right next to her, and my mom was talking to him about how my dad was his big fan. He gave an autograph. I have it somewhere here in the house, and I guess he was hitting on my mom the entire time, asked her out on a date. So.
That sounds like Pete Rose, man. Great player, but the human being, man. Yeah. Hey, that's just mind blowing. Hey, my dad, my husband loves you, man. He's a great player. Hey, you want to go out? Damn, that's dirty. That's dirty.
Yeah, well, you know, my bad.
Rest in peace, Pete Rose, man.
Yeah, I mean, my dad's been gone for a long time. He passed away when I was like 19. So I didn't find it as disrespect. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Mom not interested though. I was like, maybe you should have entertained the possibility, and we could have got some Pete Rose money. No, I'm kidding. Los, man, great job, man. I appreciate you coming on today. Make sure you guys dial into NorCal Sports Network, that you like and subscribe to Steph Sanchez, and that you like and subscribe to this channel. Oh, earlier, Garrett, you asked me if I'll be back on Thursday. For the 4-man front, yes, and it'll be on the coach's channel. So I'll be there for the 4-man front. Just no show tomorrow morning, but I'll be on the 4-man front, and then I'll be back Friday morning with Wayne Breezy. Los, appreciate you, Doc.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for watching the Ryan G. Hensley Show. Your support is greatly appreciated. Please visit RyanGHensley.com to learn more about me and all of my businesses. Whether it's real estate, credit repair, solar, whatever it is, you can find out more about me on that website. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you know when we go live.